think that the most interesting, or God, anxiety is not interesting. Actually, it's like incredibly boring, which I think is like its worst quality, is that it's just like kind of the same thing over and over and over again, and it doesn't ever like figure out ways to become like lighter or more interesting. It's like one of those human emotions or responses that it doesn't feel fun investigating. It's not even like sorrow where you could like extract some sense of like deepness from. It's just awful. And I figured out that I had an anxiety disorder. Why it wasn't obvious, I don't know, but I figured it out like around my late 20s, early 30s, because I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. But then when I look back at my childhood, I can see that I was an anxious child, and I probably had an undiagnosed anxiety disorder, kind of like masquerading as something else for many years. And I think that the 80s and the 90s were a really peculiar time for mental health, and like certainly my parents weren't equipped to help me, though they tried. And so it's like if I knew now what I knew then, I think it would have been much more comfortable. But I can like look back and see specifically how my mental illness like dictated choices that I made. It made me take fewer chances. It made me like timid and scared. It was really deeply uncomfortable. I used to have like really intense cramping in my body and in my stomach. And sometimes I don't know where the mental illness starts and like my feeling, my sensation in the body ends. Like this idea of like I'm uncomfortable a lot. Like things don't ever feel, sometimes they feel okay, but for the most part, like things are like slightly painful or uncomfortable, or my stomach hurts, or I can't like eat certain foods. And I don't know if that is like the chicken or the egg. I don't know if that comes from like 40 years of anxiety disorder, or if that just comes from genetics and that triggered an anxiety disorder. And so that's frustrating for me. I think also too that a therapist told me once that if you live too long with anxiety, it turns into depression because it feels so hopeless, even though I'm slightly depressed. I mean, I have moments of depression, but I'm overall not really a depressive. I more just have an anxiety disorder. But over time, it's so hard to kind of like wind yourself up to battle a mental illness every day that you just get really tired of it, and it kind of ekes its way into a depression, and that can like kind of over time become really crummy if I don't stay on top of it. And it does feel like almost a meditative practice. Like the number of things that I have to do every day just to like live a normal life are really profound and deep. Like I have to meditate every day. I have to make sure I have enough water. I can't drink too much. I have to make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. I have to like really be aware and control my emotions, my temper, my responses. It's like just kind of becomes exhausting in a way that I feel like not every human being shares. And then I get really irritated. You know, it's like you can't just relax. People are always like, oh, go on vacation and relax. And that's just like absurd to me. There is no like, oh, just shut off and relax. Like, no, there's not that. It's like living like a monk. You have to kind of do the same thing, eat the same food to make sure that the risks that you are taking are manageable, and then kind of like schedule the day so there's not too much downtime, because if there's too much downtime and my mind has the ability to drift, then it can like trigger a debilitating panic attack. Or if I like eat the wrong food and I get nauseous, then it can trigger a debilitating panic attack. So it's just like, I don't know, I think like it's just a real crummy thing. I think that there is like probably, if I thought about it, some aspects of being a person who is anxious that are good. I think I like keep myself safe a lot because I am kind of like risk averse. Like if I will never jump out of a plane. But on the flip side, like in order to do what I've had to do in my life, like I've had to really I've had to kind of like bypass this terror response, like just to be able to audition for a dance company or like move somewhere or like go out on a date with somebody. I've had to like bypass the feeling like I'm gonna die, which is like pretty shitty. Like I got like given this anxiety disorder and this like pretty strong, cool body that has a lot of like weird sensations all of the time, and I feel kind of like trapped in it sometimes. But I also got blessed with like a lot of strength and the ability to like bypass that deep fear, because it is really a terror. It's not even just like I'm sad or I'm scared. It's like terror. And like bypass that and be able to have a pretty cool career. Like at some point I just decided, I don't know, I think I was like 12 or something, where I was like, fuck this, like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it anyway. And so that's still like the two sides of me that I have to always deal with, is like my stubbornness and insatiable drive with this like desire to lock myself in the house.